We definitely can't swear, Clive. We definitely cannot swear at Open University students. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's not explicitly stated in the computing policy.
Let's see, should we just get it out of the way? Do you want to do a swearing session? We could just do a quick swearing session.
Yeah, it does. Look, it does the stars. Yes.
Really?
Who is this little young star, 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 star? So it's actually giving you the right number of stars as well. Take two. So today we're going to be talking about project journals, sketchbooks, basically all the different methods that all of us use, different methods to like offload our cognition, where we keep our notes, where we come up with ideas, where we splurge our mind onto. So yeah, does anybody want to give us an example first? I mean, I'm wondering, we kick off with a couple of traditional examples, or maybe share a couple really quickly, because they're kind of visual. So I do a lot of like cartooning in my spare time. So I develop like characters, I suppose, in my sketchbook. It's not just about drawing the characters themselves. It's actually about developing sort of aspects of it or kind of scenes. So I'll have lots of different like stuff in my sketchbook. It'll be all over the place. Sometimes I'll use it to practice as well. You know, if you're developing a character, you've maybe not drawn something in a particular way before or with a particular pen. So it's like a place for me to learn as much as anything else. So I guess that's a kind of like really traditional example to maybe kick off on. It's kind of like a really traditional way that you might think of a creative designer using it, just to draw stuff, to actually do the stuff that you're actually creating, if that makes sense. But we're not always necessarily drawing what we're creating, if that makes sense. Does anybody got an example of that, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, so building on Derek's, fab cartoons, this particular sketchbook I use for a mix of things, as well as this was from my student days when I was a product design student. So as well as kind of product design sketches and ideas and things, I also use it for observational stuff. And I was at the Musée d'Orsay looking at some Rodin sculptures.
Lovely place. Yep.
And here we are, observational sketches. Now, the key thing about these observational sketches is, to touch on Derek's point, is that the way I handle a pencil in this case is very different to the greater degree of precision and finesse I do when in my design drawings. Here, the mark making is much more expressive and fluid and free and less structured.
Is that, and in that context, Clive? Is it because it's a place like?
Yeah. So essentially, this becomes a repository for, not just design stuff, but observational stuff that subsequently will feed into the kind of creative process further down the line. And the great thing about it is you never really know when some of these things are going to be useful. And so things like, thumbnail sketches and designs from, in this case, an iron, a copy machine, and these is not just kind of drawing. So, for example, this is a kind of survey and analysis of statistical data that I was using to justify some of the findings in my dissertation.
So that's interesting. So it's not just drawings that are in your sort of like journal or sketchbook or whatever you want to call it, Clive. It's other stuff as well. Is that like something that you recognise, Christian? Does that ring a bell with you, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I do very little that sort of drawing at all.
Okay,
I'll show you the sort of things I do. I don't know if that's going to come through. Yeah, there you can see a little bit. Hang on. Let me make it a bit brighter. Hang on.
Well, was this your last therapy session?
Yeah, it kind of.
Sensitivity and awareness. Sorry.
I do a lot of sort of diagrammatic. They're sort of relations between things, and I guess I use it more as a thing. I use drawing as a way of working through an idea. So I'm not trying to represent anything. This was a particular project where I was creating some headphones that you wear on your head, and they click basically. The clicking in your headphones is designed. It is due to how you're looking at the sun. So if the sun is on your left hand side, the clicking is on your right hand side in your right earpiece.
Right.
And if the sun's on the other side, basically the clicking. So the idea is that you're always walking towards the sun. So these are kind of headphones that are designed to kind of guide you constantly towards the sun. So I was trying to work out exactly how that was going to work. So I have a lot of text in my drawings. So I used to spend a lot of time wandering around the city with these kind of strange headphones on, trying to see how I navigated the city. So yeah, I guess the drawings were there to think about elements. That's what I do, I think, a lot of, is I try and work out what are the elements of an idea, and also sometimes the physical elements. So I'll show you some of this. So it has bits of hardware like piezo's, and it's got screens, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, for me, it's much more about sort of elements and trying to break down the elements.
So there you go. You've seen a few examples of work from just 3 of us on the module team, and every other module team member has a whole different range of practices and sketchbooks or design journals that they use. I think for me, what's interesting is just how different all of this stuff can be. So first of all, it's different content. Different designers do different things, from illustration right through to scribbling technical drawings. And that's the second part of it. We do it for different reasons. Sometimes we do it to see something. Sometimes we do it to work something out or to describe something. And that also means we use different modes. So sometimes we'll be drawing, we'll be rendering quite finely to make something look like something. Other times we'll be creating a diagram. Sometimes we'll be creating a list. These are different modes, if you like, of thinking or of designing. And then finally, all of this difference arises because we're all different people. We come from different backgrounds. We've got different talents. We've got different ways of doing it. Bottom line is, there is no single right way to do it. But there are some ways that are better than others. And that's the kind of thing that you'll develop as part of your design practice.
Yeah. These are, in terms of kind of a tutorial, let me see these. Yeah, that's a good example. Just start. What this was, I remember this vividly. Students were presenting their projects, and I was kind of evaluating them, and we were trying to work out a system evaluating which was the best way of working out the best, if you like, or the most productive and most viable product. And we did it by a simple selection matrix based on cost, technical complexity, adaptability, and accessibility, and then just rank them. But you can see all of that happened in just a load of scribbles, because underneath all that, I was just hardly doodling because that's the way my brain works. And then that feeds into a kind of, further evaluations. And then that in itself leads to an understanding how, even the simplest tools can be used to render actually quite sophisticated effects. But cool. Subsequently, you're back to your point about digital, got digitally manipulated into something quite different.
Totally. I mean, that's the other thing that designers are particularly good at. I mean, I think there's probably a couple of natural points where we would have stopped this recording before now, but that might be another nice point. Maybe if we followed up with the digital one, but it's that we were almost like complete and utter, what shall we say? We are loose individuals when it comes to method and mode. That, if a digital mode does the job and you can fire it out to digital, then that's exactly what you do. You do it because it's quick, it's expeditious, it gets your thinking to that next stage and then back in. So that's maybe one we can kind of follow up on. I will stop it there, though.
My dog's going nuts.